Good morning, homesteaders. Just wanted to do a few videos on some older technology, treadle sewing machines. I had for the longest time a electronic sewing machine that I used off and on with okay success. I was really not that enthralled with sewing because my sewing machine, although it was good, it was a Singer, which is what this one is. But being electronic and the electronic pedal, I think that a lot of the like mine was a student model. It was, the pedal is just, it's hard to modulate that. It's hard to depress. It's hard to get an even, consistent speed. I struggled with it quite a bit. And it was just one of those things that I just felt like, you know, this is harder than it needed to be. After my move, I got my sewing machine out, and apparently during the move something jostled and hit the machine on a integral part of the machine. It was the control knob, and I tried to take it to get it repaired. They couldn't repair it, or the part was worth more than the machine was, so they just didn't want to repair it. They wanted to sell me a new one. And I thought, well, I don't really use my sewing machine all that much, but I already had this, and I was like, you know, let me just use what I have. And so I was determined to actually figure this machine out because I had never been put into a position where I had to, and now I was determined to use it. And as far as I could tell, I had everything that I needed in order to actually just do some real basic stitch work. So obviously this is a treadle sewing machine. Let's see if I can show you. Down here is the flat weaved part. That's the actual pedal. Over here is the wheel, and this is the leather that goes up through the cabinet and attaches onto the machine. You pedal back and forth, and that makes this go around and makes the needle go up and down. It's pretty basic. You provide all of the power that is needed for the machine, and you have a tremendous amount of control. It may not seem it at first, but you do have a tremendous amount of control, way more, I think, than an electronic machine, and trying to deal with the pedal. One of the things that I bought extra, because this is a non-electric machine, is this is, I think, I bought this on Amazon. It's like a light for a drill press, because a lot of those kinds of things don't have the built-in lights to them. So it's got a really strong magnet to it, and it's an LED light. You can just put it however you need. You know, it's got a gooseneck. You can put it in whatever kind of configuration so that you can get light onto your surface that you're going to be working. One thing that I think is kind of cool to find out about your machines is mine. This is a Singer Red Eye. There's lots of different models or manufacturers that are out there. I think I've seen Goodyear, white rotary. This is because of the red on it, that's why they call it the Red Eye, but there's other, just Sphinx, I think, was a model at the time. But you can get the serial number here, and you'll find it on all of the machines that they have a serial number somewhere. And you can contact Singer, and you can give them the number, and they will let you know the allotment date for your machine. So you know basically when it went out into service. Mine is 102 years old, and it is in great condition, even before I really did anything to it. And I really didn't do any, it wasn't rusty, it really wasn't in bad shape at all. Whoever had it before took great care with it. It needed a new leather. It needed to be oiled properly because it hadn't had any oiling, and it was only missing this little metal flat piece. And there's a place online that you can order different parts if you're missing them, or if it's in too bad a disrepair that you just rather go ahead and replace it. They are not obviously going to match, but they're functionally going to work. I find this machine to be a pleasure to sew on rather than the electric ones. You can't, as far as I know, and I'm not by any stretch of the imagination, I am not a seamstress, but it is basically straight stitching. You're not going to be able to do zigzagging. I believe you can actually do embroidery work on this. I do not know how to do that. I saw some references to people using this for embroidery, but I really don't know how that works. I was also very fortunate with my machine that mine came with instruction books, and it showed me pretty much how to do everything that I needed to do, although it took me a little bit to understand their diagrams and their instructions. Because it is a little bit different, and that's why I wanted to do a few videos on like how to actually thread it, how to actually disengage a mechanism here so you can practice treadling without actually sewing. It will cause this part to not move. One of the other things that I had that came with my machine was all kinds of little attachments. That there's like a ruffler, and there's I think a buttonhole. There's all kinds of things for hemming. There's all kinds of attachments that replace this footman right here, and I haven't gotten that far, but it's out there. There's availability for it, and I mean, these machines are really tough. They've been around for over 100 years, and almost all of them are, as long as you use them, oil them, replace some of the wearable parts, they will keep running and they will keep sewing. You can adjust the tensioning, you can adjust the stitch length a little bit, but like I said, it's basically going to be straight stitches. You as the operator can change the stitches. You can make a zigzag, but it's not going to itself jump back and forth. You have to be the one who actually manipulates everything. So as the operator, it may be a little bit more tedious. You may decide to have an electric sewing machine or a fancier machine to do certain things if you have to do those kinds of some of those kinds of stitches. But for general basic sewing machine operations, it's wonderful. My great grandmother had one of these. She was a master seamstress. And she had sewed my mother's wedding dress, which was my wedding dress. She did all of the major stitching, the bodice work, to get the dress into its form on a treadle sewing machine. And then she did all of, I mean, quite a job, all of the sequins and everything else. She did all that by hand. It was quite a labor of love. So you can create it, you can design it, you can do it. It may take a little bit longer, but if you're not going to be doing any kind of, significant sewing, maybe this is the kind of machine that you could use, to be able to hem things, repair things. And it's just fun, it really is. And it's something that, kids, this is a great sewing machine to get kids introduced to learning how to sew, because it is, I believe, an easier, once you get the treadling action down, you can actually go much, much slower instead of having an electric sewing machine where things just kind of run away and you get frustrated and you feel like you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. The machine isn't doing what you want it to do. So give these machines some love. If you see one and you've always thought about one, definitely look into them, watch some of my videos that I'm going to be putting out, and I think that you will find that they look like they're old and obsolete, but they're really not. They're very, very useful and a pleasure. So I hope you enjoy the video and look for my other ones. Thanks.